I'm Mr. Tom, and I like to paint silly things. Welcome to Acutely Believable Creatures. Hello, friends and homies. It's Process Video Day. This week's theme was dinosaur. But it's a very special theme because, as YouTube user Ruth Santos pointed out, that instead of theme suggestions, how about an overall theme for the channel for something a little more cohesive? And you know what? That's big brain stuff and I like it. I'm even stealing the suggested name, the Goblin Grimoire. So thank you, and you have earned yourself a high five. Actually, this is really solid advice that I never really truly followed myself. If you want to work in illustration, especially children's books, your portfolio should predominantly include the stuff that you want to draw. Not necessarily stuff you think agents and publishers want to see. So for instance, I didn't really like drawing humans. Humans are boring and sometimes mean. Much rather create fantastical and nonsensical, spooky cute stuff, or as I like to call them, acutely believable creatures. Now, it just so happens that I have an affinity for goblins and nerdy tabletop RPGs, so everything I'm painting has a potential home for any of your homebrew games. I'm not the world's best DM. I'm not even the best DM in this room. But I'll post my rules and stats for all my paintings, starting with this guy, the Goblosaurus. Alright, enough channel talk, let's get to the dino stuffs. I wanted a Stegosaurus, but a dopey Stegosaurus as a goblin mount because it seems to me that if a goblin was going to ride a dinosaur, a Stegosaurus with all of its spikes was the perfectly impractical choice. To make it look extra dopey, the face was key. A smirky, distant smile and beady eyes with a chubby, not quite right head shape. Now, I rarely say this, but I think I nailed it. You may notice that I didn't sketch the rider at the same time as our dino. I've learned that my brain sometimes struggles with adding details of multiple things at the same time when I'm sketching. So I get too many ideas going on and I lose track of the picture that I'm trying to create. So, I break them down into elements, which helps me keep things straight. Now sometimes, I even use this technique when I'm trying to figure out composition. I'll put all the elements on their own sheet of tracing paper, move them around until I have exactly the picture that I'm looking for. As far as the rider goes, I wanted something pretty low-key. No dynamic poses, or any baubles or trinkets. I wanted to focus on the Goblosaurus and the absurdity of riding one. Which I think I accomplished because the beast takes up 2/3 of the sketch, and it's following its natural walk cycle. And, if you look closely, it does look a little absurd. Now to transfer the sketch to watercolor paper, I used my trusty lightbox, which you would see here if I had pressed record while transferring it and maintained my already high standard of filming and professionalism. Instead, what I captured was riveting footage of me trying to fit a large piece of paper on a small block of wood. Having fixed that issue with a larger piece of wood, I will now attempt a world speed record with maximum effort. Many watercolorists frown upon taping their paper, all of whom I can only imagine have never had a piece run off on them. I have found it's best practice to give watercolor paint a quick bath to rehydrate them. In general, the harder the brand name is to pronounce, the fancier paints are likely to be, and very likely to appreciate the extra step. Now here's a quick rundown of all the basic tools you'll need for painting. 1. Paints. 2. Something to paint. 3. Things to paint with. 4. Something to clean your paint. Now for the color palette, I wanted something pretty earthy and dinosaur appropriate with a hint of goblin. So there's going to be a bunch of browns, yellows, oranges, and deep reds. The only real accents will be the goblin skin and its shirt, which I think is the perfect amount of contrast to still keep the eyes focus on the dinosaur, the real star of the show. I'd like to take a moment to thank all 5 of my Patreons, Bernadette, Tim, Chrissy, Holly, and Mom, for being awesome. If you want to join this elite group or pick up some original watercolors or prints from my shop, links are in the description below. Before I move on to inking, I want to give the whole painting a wash with yellow ochre. You can do this with any color, but yellow fits the bill here for a warmer tone. Washes are amazingly simple tricks to help smooth and unify watercolor pigments, and once it dries, colors tend to pop just a little bit more. After leaving it to sit and dry, we're ready to ink. Now, I'm a stand for Micron pens, but really any waterproof ink will do. Some artists skip this step and instead do their line work with a fine lighter brush and paint, but I like the bold and controlled lines that pens make. This is the part where I start to get really excited. I know what I was trying to make when I sketched it. I know what I was trying to accomplish when I was painting it, but now I'm starting to see it in front of me and it's taking shape. It's one of the best feelings in the world to get stoked on your own artwork. You can be critical and acknowledge mistakes and imperfections, but if you're creating something and it's coming to life right in front of you, that's something to take pride in. Alright, time to give your fancy paints a drink one more time. Because once you introduce a strong new color to the environment, like I did with the black lines, you may find that the other colors don't seem as deep or pop as much. So I like to go back in and darken some of the shadows from earlier, or maybe even add a whole new shadow line if need be. I really like this transparent burnt sienna for this part. It's a warm, dark color, great for shadows, but since it's transparent, it also lets some of that color underneath show through, like an overlay layer in Photoshop. Now for the de-taping ceremony where we release the art into the world and in most cases into my shop for sale. However, this one was snatched up already. Fear not though, I posted the art, stats, and rules in my Instagram in case you wanted to run a herd of Goblosaurus in your own homebrew campaign. That's about it for us. Next week we tackle the round-foot halfling. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for hanging out. Hugs and high fives, homies.